Maybe as a kid, you had an aunt, uncle, grandparent, or cousin that you beefed with, which is distinctly different from repeated squabbles with a parent or sibling. But let's take it one step farther. What if there was a kid that had mutually hate-fueled fights with a teacher, a guidance counselor, a neighbor, the manager of an apartment complex? All in all, a random adult they aren't related to. Now, in real life, this would most likely be cause for alarm, but what about it in fiction is so hilarious and compelling? But lovers, as you've heard, today we're looking at a trope I've noticed isn't talked about all that much. I'm sure from that cold open alone you could think of many examples off the top of your head, but since we just talked about Big Time Rush, we're going to start with Mr. Bitters versus Katie. The first time we meet the manager of the Palm Woods, Mr. Bitters, he immediately proves himself to be quite the schemer, always looking for his next big business move, or really just a quick buck. He and Kendall's sister Katie are similar in that way. In Big Time School of Rock, Mr. Bitters informs Mrs. Knight and her daughter Katie that Katie can only attend the Palm Woods school if the child is a star. She needs to be in the union to attend this school. So even though Katie is not a part of the show business industry and has no interest in it, she also doesn't want to be homeschooled by her unqualified mom. Mrs. Knight and Katie pretty much uprooted their whole life so Kendall can be part of this band, Big Time Rush. Mr. Bitters sees this as an opportunity. He volunteers himself to be Katie's talent manager. Most kids would not pick up on this sliminess, but 10-year-old Katie's extreme side-eye with no hesitation lets the audience know she sees through Mr. Bitters' charade. And she knows right from the start that he's gonna be trouble. She even negotiates his talent manager percentage being less. Katie makes him go from 15% to 5%, and here's the real gag. Even though she's only doing this to get into school, his original rate was still pretty generous. Most managers charge 20%. But in the end, Bitters does get his walking around money and makes everyone very uncomfortable. In Big Time Crib, Katie is the brains of the operation behind getting her and the BTR boys their dream apartment. Mr. Bitters is immediately seen as the villain of the episode for putting them in that shithole of an apartment in the first place. Katie gives them the steps of their plan, and to inconvenience Mr. Bitters the most, she stole his whiteboard. She finds immense joy in annoying him, even putting in extra effort where she doesn't have to, because this has nothing to do with the plan. She looks back fondly at his shock over the missing whiteboard to the point where he chokes on his food. In the season 1 episode Big Time Blogger, Katie and Mr. Bitters make bets with each other, and the first one is so casual. This husband and wife are walking through the lobby with a huge amount of luggage, and they're looking to see which one trips first. When the husband fell first, Katie celebrated her tiny victory, and Mr. Bitters is the perfect name for this fool because he immediately takes this way too seriously. He is bitter. Jumping straight to, this doesn't make you better than me.
What?
When Katie, a child, says it does, he crushes his popcorn bag with rage.
Calm down, son.
Katie tries to brush off his next challenge, slightly annoyed that he's taking this so seriously, and she effortlessly takes him down again by guessing which cup the ball was under. He seems to be completely deflated until he calls double or nothing with an air hockey match. Dude bedazzled an outfit for this. I can appreciate the enthusiasm, but he has way too much time on his hands. Katie tries to walk away, but once he makes chicken noises, real mature, she's in. She's not gonna take that disrespect lying down. He scores on himself. Perfect imagery for this self-sabotager. Katie didn't even need to do anything. And the whole time, the entire Palm Woods is laughing at Bitters. This background character fully does a face palm, and the crowd that was previously amused by Mr. Bitters dancing starts to clear up after witnessing that utter failure. This episode ends with Katie fully victorious, another Nickelodeon show. Mr. Bitters begs her for another challenge so he can have some shred of dignity. Katie, and she bets him that she could get all these water balloons to land in the bucket in front of him without getting a drop of water on him. She then proceeds to pelt Mr. Bitters with these water balloons, and he celebrates because he thought he won. Meanwhile, Katie just made over $200 because she bet a bunch of kids $20 that she could throw a bunch of water balloons at him and he would cheer, which is exactly what happened. Katie ended her victory lap with actual money. Meanwhile, to Mr. Bitters, it was all a game of pride, to the point where he never even bet money. He started off a schemer, but you can't out-scheme Katie. In the end, pride didn't even mean anything to him because he asked the kid for $20 for his dry cleaning, and she just gave it to him. He respects her and is learning from her, a child. Meanwhile, she is extremely entertained by him. They both get something out of this rivalry. And if you feel bad for how pathetic Mr. Bitters is, please don't. He needs to be humbled. It is his karma for being a huge piece of shit. For example, in the episode Big Time Sparks, he sets up a bunch of traps for Jordan Sparks so he could get a paparazzi picture of her, even stooping so low as trying to get her to slip on a banana peel. He doesn't care if she gets hurt if he can make a buck off of it. Katie taking the wind out of his sails is karma for his many, many sins. In Big Time Fever, Mr. Bitters once again tries to mooch off of Katie's talent and big ideas. She has a snow cone stand near the pool and he tries to shut it down because of a rule in the rental contract, unless he gets 50% of the profits. And he also threw in,
and a 3-picture deal once you buy your movie studio.
He's an actor, and he's playing the long game by trying to scam people during their humble beginnings. When Katie shuts down this leech, he takes immense pleasure in confiscating the food stand.
Have a Palmwoods day.
Wow, Mr. Bitters. You really did it this time, shutting down the entrepreneurial hopes and dreams of the youth for your own sick power trip. This is why no one at the Palmwoods likes you and you spend Christmas alone, crusty. Have a Palmwoods day. If there's one thing you need to know about Katie is that she's just as stubborn as Mr. Bitters, if not more. So she does not give up. In fact, the pushback only makes her stronger. And with some help from her friend the maintenance man Buddha Bob, they find a loophole by suspending the snow cone stand mid-air. So now they're not on Palmwoods property, they're above it. So don't ask me why. I know a bit about real estate, at least in New York, and the definition of property also includes the air above it. Probably for tree branches going over the fence or drones or some shit. So as smart as I thought this was as a kid, this would not hold up in court. Imagine if Mr. Bitters took their feud that far. Lawyer up, Katie. Instead, because he's not that smart, he tried to buy the snow cone stand for $100. Katie countered with $500, and she keeps franchising rights. What's the franchise? Snow cones $1? How is she planning on expanding? Mr. Bitters refuses this offer and evilly laughs. In the end, Katie ended up selling it for $300 because she needs to help out the boys. The moment the food cart is owned and operated by Mr. Bitters, a health inspector shuts it down and charges him $500 for operating without a license. And the fee goes up to $2,000 because of all the shenanigans Mr. Bitters pulls.
Oh look, a free cherry snow cone.
Bribing a city official. That's another $500.
The world just loves shitting on this guy, and I love watching. The Big Time Rush boys also mess with Mr. Bitters, but it's always to get away with something. Katie and Mr. Bitters' rivalry feels more personal. Katie is to Mr. Bitters what the Big Time Rush boys are to Gustavo, and in no episode is that clearer than Big Time Christmas. Mr. Bitters refuses to decorate the Palmwoods for the holidays because everyone is gone. Katie sees Mr. Bitters eating alone, and while he usually gives off miserable vibes, this time they're taking it seriously and empathizing with the Grinch. It's a Christmas episode, so goodwill towards men even when they suck or whatever. Katie tricks him into fixing the cable, which she just unplugged, so they can eat holiday treats together and watch It's a Wonderful Life. Katie's mom watches this with pride. Making sure they show the mother watching this and approving of the unlikely friendship is a key piece of the puzzle that makes you suspend your disbelief. They finish the movie, and Bitters tearfully admits that it makes him wonder what the Palmwoods would be like if he was never born. Katie daydreams about this and accidentally happy dances while doing so. Mr. Bitters storms off, announcing his feelings are not hurt, as if that doesn't make it more obvious. Meanwhile, Gustavo is also rejecting as much Christmas cheer as possible, saying the Christmas pajamas the boys got for him are stupid. But in the end, when they're all stuck celebrating at the well-decorated Palmwoods, Mr. Bitters and Gustavo feel like they're part of the family. All with me. Aww. You want to hear something sad? There's no official list of all the episodes with Mr. Bitters in it, so I was just scrubbing through all of the episodes, and in Season 2's Big Time Wedding, Katie's side plot is her having to save Buddha Bob from being deported.
Oh, wait, you can't do this. He's an upstanding member of society.
Save it, short stuff.
And I don't know, it's just sad. I don't like watching that in 2025. Don't talk about real life, Athena, just talk about the shows. Things happen in the shows that remind me of real life. If I can't escape in my escapism, neither can you. I almost forgot an episode where Katie helped Bitters arguably even more than in the Christmas episode. In Big Time Moms, it's revealed that Mr. Bitters has been lying to his mother, making her believe he's a vet. And when Katie sees him floundering trying to keep up the act, she helps him out. Now listen, it wasn't fully out of the kindness of her heart, because when things got too out of control, he had to bribe her with $500. Still a really important episode to fully paint their dynamic. Thank you for your patience. Please take this TikTok of me on your way out.
Watching an old person.
Patrick, that's not fun.
It is for me.
Back to Bitters. In Season 3's Big Time Merchandise, Mr. Bitters fully scammed Katie. That doesn't sound like something he'd do. Oh wait, that totally does sound like something he'd do. That's his whole character. She had to replace her mom's robe she destroyed, and not only did he charge her $45 for a new one, but it also didn't come with a belt. She tries to call customer service, but he's also the customer service. All sales are final, and he's not responsible for any mistakes. The way she scared the crap out of this fully grown man with just a stare was really funny. I especially loved when she was his computer wallpaper. She's just standing there, menacingly. But I'd say the peak of both Katie and Mr. Bitters' greed was in Big Time Gold when they thought they struck oil. Turns out they just drilled into a damaged oil line, and Mr. Bitters was even taken away at the end. How is he not still in jail? Can Mr. Bitters' constant failures act as a cautionary tale to Katie so she doesn't go down the same evil path? The next duo is another child schemer, but the adult isn't similar. This adult is more a control freak for no monetary reasons at all. I'm talking about Mr. Frond and Louise.
So, you're in trouble again.
Drink some cranberry juice.
What? No, not you're in trouble. You are in trouble.
The school guidance counselor, Mr. Frond's first appearance was in the second episode of the series, and Louise immediately messes with him. She can just sense that vulnerability and desperation. Meanwhile, Louise's father, the titular bitchular of the series, Bob, is stuck in the crawl space, and Louise finds this whole ordeal to be incredibly amusing. Louise lies to Mr. Frond that her father has died recently. Mr. Frond at this point in the series is as eager to help as he is gullible. When Louise tries to perform a seance with Mr. Frond, he just goes with it. When the other Belcher children get into trouble at school, just because they're rambunctious, Mr. Frond jumps the gun and believes they're acting out as a result of grieving their father, who, reminder, is fully alive. Mr. Frond is absolutely giddy about conducting a home visit, giggling as he grabs his grief puppets and crisis crayons. Stay with me on this tangent real quick. One time my sister got off of a water slide and very quietly muttered to herself that her neck kinda hurt, and then this lifeguard started shouting, "Possible spinal injury!" Grabbed my sister, put her on this floaty little stretcher, effectively only accomplishing freaking her the fuck out when nothing was wrong. Even though Mr. Frond was manipulated, the sheer joy he got from a tragedy just because he's able to finally do his job reminded me of that lifeguard. Both of them are just a bit too hyped that somebody could be hurt after waiting for their opportunity for so long. When Mr. Frond was at the house, he found out that Bob wasn't dead. And on top of that revelation, he's also hit with this insult.
Why would Louise let me think that he was dead?
Oh, she just likes messing with people she thinks is stupid.
I know.
This makes Philip Frond contemplate calling Child Protective Services. Secretly, I think he was just butthurt about being lied to and insulted. I think he just wanted to follow through with the grand gesture he already had planned. Mr. Frond didn't end up calling CPS because the kid's grandma, Gloria, saw everything Mr. Frond did wrong. Did you even get the school's permission to come here? You drove these children in your own car away from learning? Mr. Frond, fearing getting fired or catching a case, nervously backs away from them. And it turns out, Gloria's concerns about Frond's qualifications were not in vain. In the episode Lobster Fest, he makes a kid confess a secret he shared in confidence, in front of all his classmates, completely humiliating him for no reason. He will cause kids more trauma just so they need more counseling and he can feel accomplished. Louise is his karmic justice. It only took until season 2 for this man to snap. In the episode Synchronized Swimming, Louise and her siblings decide they do not want to go to gym anymore. Louise immediately finds a way out, announcing that Mr. Frond is highly suggestible. Louise, Tina, and Jean loudly talk about how gym makes their self-esteem worse, right outside of Frond's office. And Louise makes him think that an independent study is his idea. So for a bit, the Belcher children were taking synchronized swimming, with their teacher being their mom, Linda, until they infuriated her to the point of quitting. Perfect, no more PE, they thought. Nope, Mr. Frond wants to brag to the Board of Educators. And the board even wanted this final synchronized swimming performance to be a graded event. Louise tried to pull the same "I'm too insecure to be graded on a physical activity" charade that got her into this whole independent study mess, and Mr. Frond shouted at her. He doesn't give a shit about raising self-esteem anymore, because now he wants the Board of Educators to raise his self-esteem. That is the irony that makes Mr. Frond so funny. The person who needs counseling the most is very obviously him. The Board of Educators hated the synchronized swimming independent study, especially after Louise shat in the pool. She was wild in these early seasons. In the episode Ears See Rider, Mr. Frond only showed up for a few seconds. He noticed Louise didn't have her usual bunny ears, and he pretty much straight up asked if she needed guidance. Louise, without even thinking, said, "Yeah, I have so many emotions to work through, I'll meet you in your office in a few seconds." Which made Mr. Frond so happy he fell to his knees and screamed triumphantly like a freak. Louise never showed up to his office, and we don't see him for the rest of the episode. It's so funny. Even thinking about it makes me giggle. Even when Louise has a totally different objective, she still has time to make Frond's life just a little worse. In the episode The Cook, the Steve, the Gale, and her lover, their feud is cranked up a notch, as it is the main plot point and not just some side quest. The episode starts with Mr. Frond going over all the chaos Louise caused this week with different props. He takes away her grabber and even uses one of his therapy dolls to deliver the devastating news. And the silly Italian accent this little puppet has only infuriates Louise more. Louise didn't even care about detention. She was only pissed off that he took away her thing. You can't do that! This is a free country! I couldn't even say that with a straight face. That night, Louise's Aunt Gail brings over the guy she's been dating, and it's Mr. Frond. Louise does everything she can to break them up. She brings up all of Mr. Frond's bad qualities, but they completely line up with Gail's bad qualities. Turns out they're super compatible. Then Louise plays into Gail's insecurities. Louise even stole the doll that Frond made for Gail, and Philip immediately knew Louise took it. But that's not even the worst thing to happen to Mr. Frond, though. Linda is a wine pusher, and Frond gets so drunk he ends up vomiting all night. Tina ends up instilling morals in Louise, which inspires Louise to use her grabber for good. She gets the Gale doll out of the gutter, surprisingly not her doing. It's a long story. I highly suggest you watch the episode. And once Gale got the doll from Louise, it didn't matter that Mr. Frond had been throwing up all night, because the two make out a lot. It's honestly quite beautiful, but maybe not in front of the children. What the fuck?
Oh dear, can we not watch Gale and Mr. Frond make out?
I was so annoyed Mr. Frond and Gail didn't last longer. They broke up so quickly and it felt like they were perfect together. We didn't even hear why they broke up. We didn't even see the breakup happen. At least give us the drama. It also would have been so funny to see him be an uncle to these kids, but nope, he's still just a guidance counselor. Counsel. That was from the episode Teen a Witch, and yes, Louise did dress up as Mr. Frond for a costume contest just to mock him.
It's like looking in a mirror. No, it isn't.
And he disqualified her from future contests. Overreaction much? She just said counsel. In the episode A Few Girt Men, Mr. Ambrose accuses Mr. Frond of stealing his yogurt. Mr. Frond insists he didn't, and they bring the case to the student court, the mock trial. Louise is assigned to be Mr. Frond's defense, and the good news is they both didn't overreact. Louise wants this trial to be done as quickly as possible, so she tells Mr. Frond to take a plea deal, but he insists he's innocent. Eventually, and I mean eventually, Louise agrees to defend him. Only after Mr. Frond genuinely apologized if he ever falsely accused Louise of something. And he also just straight up looked deflated and sad. Louise, to everyone's surprise, empathized with him. Louise even described Mr. Frond as broken down, chewed up, and spit out, which somehow he took as a compliment. This episode gives off the same vibes as Katie trying to get Mr. Bitters in the Christmas spirit. These rare moments where they work together show off a different side to these adults. The helplessness, the damage. I completely skimmed over who Mr. Ambrose is because it's not relevant to this video, but I highly recommend Tears Trippy TV's video on Mr. Ambrose. He is a hilarious character, and the Bob's Burgers deep dives on this channel are golden. Highly recommend. In Season 8's Silence of the Louise, she has to solve another case, this time against Mr. Frond. And this episode really shows off how flimsy Mr. Frond's morals are, because even though he just apologized for if he ever falsely accused her, he does just that this episode. The kids completed their 500 books for the readathon, which means they get a trip to the water park as a reward. The teachers, convinced they couldn't read that many books, already used the money for a coffee machine, which is why Mr. Frond unraveled his therapy dolls to pin it on one of the kids and cancel the trip. As the main characters learn and grow, these obstacles in the form of really unstable adults remain the same. In Season 9's Live and Let Fly, the Belcher children owe Mr. Frond 5 hours of detention. So to get out of it, they agree to be in his music video for Counselor Con. The one thing he promises these children is that no one else in the school will see them in this music video.
Let's swap eyes so we can empathize.
He, of course, breaks that promise, and the kids are set on revenge. As I mentioned in the Mr. Bitters and Katie section, the Big Time Rush boys also mess with Mr. Bitters, but I just focused on Katie because it was the most personal, and that is the same with this section. Tina and Jean also mess with Mr. Frond, but not to the same level as Louise. In this episode, they actually fall through on the revenge plan, proving they're better than him once again by taking the high road. The most boring road to take. Now on to probably the most anticipated duo, Mrs. Dabney and Gabe from Good Luck Charlie. Hang in there, baby, babies, because they can't stop having kids.
You know, you taught me an important life lesson. To fear and mistrust adults.
You taught me that children are the future. And the future is a dark and scary place.
Mrs. Dabney, the neighbor of the Duncan family, is introduced in the very first episode. Gabe sneaks into her house and takes food from her. Even though Gabe's older sister Teddy apologizes to Miss Dabney, she doesn't give these kids any leeway. He snuck into Miss Dabney's house because Gabe feels overlooked in his own home. His dad doesn't know Gabe's birthday or school. His mom forgets to feed him. All the while, the Disney laugh track is booming to distract us from how sad this actually is. Dad, how could you forget my name? It's not funny. It's not funny. But this beef started way before the first episode. In Charlie is One, we get a flashback of when Charlie was born. Gabe was left home alone while his mom left to go into labor. Once again, he is completely overlooked. Why are you laughing? We think that Gabe and Mrs. Dabney are going to have a heartfelt moment because she has to pick him up and bring him to the hospital to be there for his sister's birth. But instead, she just confirmed his fears. Because Mrs. Dabney never grew out of hating her little sister and thought this was the perfect time to let him know.
We grew up, and one thing led to another, and after all these years, I still can't stand it.
How's this supposed to make me feel better?
I didn't say it was gonna make you feel better. I said I was gonna tell you a story.
She also leaves Gabe with 2 bikers in the hospital without confirming that these adults even know his parents. We are far from anything resembling a friendship between these two. In the episode Up a Tree, Gabe's family even tells him that Mrs. Dabney used to be nice before he was born. She had beef with this kid from birth. They also tell Gabe that the family used to have fun before he was born. What the fuck? I forgot how much they shit on this kid for no reason. The conflict of the episode is that they negotiated with Mrs. Dabney. The Duncans agree to chop down Teddy and PJ's old treehouse in exchange for Mrs. Dabney bringing in her noisy dog at night. Gabe never even knew this abandoned treehouse existed, but when Teddy and PJ visit it for the first time in years, they think about how sad it is that Charlie, the baby, will never experience the treehouse. What about Gabe? In this episode, we see how deceitful Mrs. Dabney really is, because she failed to mention that she was just dog-sitting. She always does that evil laugh, so just like Mr. Bitters, she is aware of what an asshole she is. In Season 1's Kit and Caboodle, Mrs. Dabney trusts Teddy to cat sit for her, but before she's even able to talk to Teddy, she is greeted by Gabe at the front door. Summarizing doesn't do their banter justice, just watch this.
Is your sister home?
Yes. Who was that? Mrs. Dabney with a stupid question.
I also love that their door has huge windows, so when Teddy asks who was that, Mrs. Dabney is clearly still standing there. And that's why I hate you. What the fuck? Hey, were you just talking to someone? Yeah, just the biggest waste of oxygen I've ever met. I'm still here! In Teddy's Broken Heart Club band, we learn that Mrs. Dabney has a son who lives in Florida now, and Gabe becomes so obsessed with his old room that he sneaks in to sleep there at night so he doesn't have to share a room with his brother PJ anymore. Of course, Mrs. Dabney busts them at the end. In the crossover episode, Charlie Shakes It Up, PJ and Gabe sell this cat cookie jar to Mrs. Dabney, not realizing it had $500 in it. By the time they asked for it back, she realized that the money was in there, and she's of course trying to milk the moment, demanding either a fancy dinner show or a foot rub. The ending was super cute and unexpected. She is a super fan of this Star Trek sounding show, and so is Bob. He has the collection of the show's episodes, and she gives the cookie jar worth $500 back to the boys in exchange for binging the show with Bob. Very similar to the season 2 finale, Teddy on Ice, when Gabe and PJ accidentally knock Mrs. Dabney's satellite off her house with a baseball. She comes over to watch her usual TV program, and as a result, Gabe and PJ end up loving her soap operas. They also all act in this soap opera style. I forgot how strong this show's gags are. Even though it leans into usual cheesy sitcom shenanigans, they really go all out with the camp, having almost a comedy sketch ending for every episode. In this episode, we also learn that the boys have broken so many of Mrs. Dabney's things to the point where she has their parents' credit card on file, which doesn't seem legal, but hey. In the season 2 Halloween episode Scary Had a Little Lamb, Gabe told Mrs. Dabney he'd watch her house for $50, so it doesn't get egged and teepeed. Even though she knows that Gabe is the one to egg and teepee her house every year, she agrees and makes him sign a contract, so we know she's very obviously scheming. Her house gets egged and teepeed, meaning Gabe didn't hold up his end of the deal, and according to the contract, Gabe has to do everything Mrs. Dabney says for a whole day. Giving her cat a bath, giving her cat the up-the-tush medication. And when he goes to take out Mrs. Dabney's trash, it's revealed that she was the one to trash her own house. Gabe doesn't get angry at this realization. In fact, he's very impressed.
Well played, Mrs. D. You are a worthy adversary.
As are you.
In It's a Charlie Duncan Thanksgiving, the moment Mrs. Dabney said she divorced her husband, who was never seen but very much mentioned, on top of hearing that the unliked Grandpa Duncan is coming over to visit, I knew these two would hit it off. They were all over each other so quickly. And when Mrs. Dabney heard he hates cats, without a second thought, she said she'd give away hers. Yeah, wow, I knew she was a terrible person, but this is next level. They broke up after one argument. This relationship lasted even shorter than Gale and Mr. Frond. Season 3's premiere, Room for Baby, pissed me off. In between seasons 2 and 3, in the weirdly lit no laugh track having ass Christmas special, the Duncan parents announced they were having another kid. A great sign for a show whose whole thing is Charlie being the youngest. And then in the season 3 premiere, they act like they're moving because they should. They should move to a place with more space if they can afford it. But no, they bought a completely new house just to decide that they're staying. That's one of my least favorite plots. But I will say, the Gabe and Mrs. Dabney moments that came out of this episode are bananas. Mrs. Dabney gives Gabe a box of stuff he's launched in her yard, including an old hat of his, which she put hair removal shit in and made him bald. He gets her back by covering her entire porch with glue. They both went to these extremes to have the last laugh because they thought the Duncans were moving, which they should have. I have yet to see Gabe outsmart Mrs. Dabney. Sure, he has witty comebacks, but the plans Mrs. Dabney sets into motion are next level. She might be the most devious out of all of these adults. In season 3's Welcome Home, she gives Gabe and PJ a box of her son's old things. Buried deep in the box is an unmailed, unopened letter from 1924 about riches buried deep in the Dabneys' backyard. Thinking she doesn't know anything about this incredibly old letter in perfect condition, they start digging in the exact dimensions and in the exact location the note mentions. Turns out, Mrs. Dabney just bamboozled them into digging a hole for her brand new hot tub. Well played. I love that they got her back using the hot tub, and dyeing her green really reminded me of the Big Fat Liar Blue Man group scene. In the episode Les Halloween, Gabe and Mrs. Dabney agree not to prank each other. And what comes out of this is they both scam a group of old ladies out of $500 because they believe that Mrs. Dabney runs an organization for troubled teens. Gabe goes along with this unknowingly at first, but once he's asked to give a speech, Mrs. Dabney knows he'll blow her cover, so she offers him 50-50. More than I thought she'd offer, until Gabe has two nightmares that disgust him to his core. Is it indicative of a guilty conscience, the fear they'll get caught one day, as shown by the handcuffs? Or does he hate Mrs. Dabney that much? Potentially all of the above, but heavy on that last point. Mutual respect aside, the hatchet is not yet buried. The rivalry must continue. Now that they have little brother Toby and Teddy got back together with a cheater, Mrs. Dabney and Gabe's dynamic is the only good thing to come out of the show. Turns out the whole dancing with Mrs. Dabney nightmare thing was foreshadowing. Because in season 4, episode 3, Demolition Dabney, Gabe has a crush on the new girl in town, Lauren, but turns out she's Mrs. Dabney's granddaughter. Gabe and Lauren go out on a roller skating date, but Mrs. Dabney forcefully chaperones and gets in between them every chance she gets. Gabe and Lauren briefly break up in future drama, but it was over a misunderstanding. Regardless, for the short period of time they were broken up for, Mrs. Dabney was celebrating. Unfortunately for her, Lauren and Gabe are endgame. And I feel like Mrs. Dabney learns to accept this. In the episode Bug Prom, Lauren can't make it out to the movies with Gabe, so Mrs. Dabney goes instead, because she's a big fan of this series through the comics. As always, Mrs. Dabney bonds with people through their shared love of media. She's a big movie and TV show nerd. She got kicked out of the theater for being rowdy, but Gabe sticks up for her. They're going to be good in-laws. And isn't it funny that they had this in-law dynamic way before Gabe even met his girlfriend? Now for a duo that's very different from the rest, Mr. Crocker and Timmy.
Admit it, you have
Mr. Crocker's first appearance was in the episode Transparents. I don't know why it was called that, but based. When Timmy shows off a real live dinosaur for show and tell, his teacher Denzel Crocker knows it must be the work of fairies! And they knew exactly what they were doing with this very hyper character right off the bat. Look, his wig is already flying off at the mere thought of magic. Just like with with all the other adult characters, his unstableness was just waiting for the right moment to pop out. Mr. Crocker even has a little tape recorder where he monologues to himself about all his magical findings. Even though this is the first time we see him, they make it clear that this has been bubbling up for a while. He says into the tape recorder that after years of searching, he finally has proof of the existence of fairy godparents! Crocker also wants to harness magic to punish everyone who's ever made fun of him. He also has these high-tech gadgets that he doesn't really seem capable of making, so I theorized that this was a result of fairies' magic. In the season 3 episode, The Secret Origin of Denzel Crocker, it is revealed that Crocker had Cosmo and Wanda back in the 70s. He lost Cosmo and Wanda due to a time-traveling Timmy Turner trying to prevent his secret from being revealed, only to reveal it himself. One of the only rules of having fairy godparents is to keep it secret, and the other rule is that only kids have fairies. So even though Crocker would have had his fairies taken away and his memory wiped regardless, if Cosmo and Wanda weren't taken from him early, he probably would have grown up to be a well-adjusted adult. Because of time-traveling Timmy Turner, Crocker had gained a tracking device that wasn't made from magic, so my theory was wrong, but from future boy genius AJ. Crocker wrote himself a note on the back of that invention to track down the fairies he lost years ago. On top of that, Cosmo and Wanda's next godchild was Bill Gates. Crocker could have channeled this loss into success, but instead he is dead set on revenge. Even if he doesn't know it, his hatred of children, and specifically Timmy, runs deep. He might even be subconsciously aware of it. When he sees that pink hat, he sees red. And even though he seems 1000% wrong in the present, this context makes me feel so bad for him. This is brutal. And Crocker is nowhere near the worst adult in Timmy's life. Much like Gabe's parents overlooking him, Timmy's parents take this to a whole other level. It's the whole reason he got his fairies. And in season 2's Information Stupor Highway, we see more of his parents' dysfunction. They try to help Timmy ask out his crush, and as a result, his dad, no joke, says that this 10-year-old is prettier than his wife. I want to vomit! In Information Stupor Highway, not only do we learn that Mr. Crocker has a whole website about how fairies are real and uploaded Timmy Turner's information to this website, which would most definitely get him fired, we also see how overbearing Mr. Crocker's mother is, forcing him to model a dress for her. Timmy, who is magically inside Mr. Crocker's computer spying on him, saves this video of his teacher in a dress, probably to post to homophobic forums. I thought this section would be all about Mr. Crocker's obsession with Timmy Turner, but honestly, Timmy is torturing him at every turn. And he's also totally the reason why Crocker is the way he is. There is so much more to discuss with these two, but it's such a unique dynamic, I might just have to dedicate a whole video to them.
I'm just like you. You are?
With the exception of cartoonishly kooky characters with hyper-specific motives, the main appeal comes from subversion. Just like you wouldn't expect a mouse to outsmart a cat, like in Tom and Jerry, you wouldn't expect a kid to be so cunning, and the adults to be so immature. These vastly different characters meet each other halfway, and it's bizarre, but it works exactly for that reason. Especially if they have rare moments of mutual respect, and are more like frenemies. It's fun to see the power in kids' hands. When done right, it gives a sense of justice. But there comes a time where even this can go too far. When instead of the kids being mischievous, they're just flat out evil. A wolf in sheep's clothing.
Is this water?
You wish it was water?
Last and least, in iCarly, Carly's older brother Spencer is her legal guardian. He is an unconventional father figure. Very artsy-fartsy, silly as fuck, and genuinely a nice guy. Everyone had a crush on him, I sure did. He's not the type of guy you'd expect to have beef with a child, unless it was all fun and games, but in the episode I Hurt Lubert, we are introduced to Chuck. Lubert, the doorman of the apartment complex they live in, makes much more sense for this trope, because he is a miserable adult the kids pull pranks on. He has a shrill, whiny voice, but for whatever reason, they really make his appearance the main focus because of his giant wart. It didn't interest me as much as the evil child targeting one of the nicest characters of the series. Spencer covers for Lubert while he's in the hospital, and so Spencer is an authority figure. That's where the trouble always starts. Spencer tells this kid to stop playing ball in the lobby. This kid, Chuck, immediately gets really aggressive and plots revenge on Spencer ever since his dad grounded him. Chuck's first evil plan was doxing Spencer to the truckers he was annoying over the radio. The truckers end up beating up Lubert, so Chuck's torture didn't affect Spencer until his second appearance, in the episode I Reunite with Missy. Spencer went to the basement and accidentally knocked a bunch of things on top of him, so he was stuck. The only person to discover him was Chuck, who locked him up and left Spencer stuck in there for 2 whole days. No one was going to look for Spencer either because he was supposed to be out on a fishing trip. On top of all of that, Chuck blasts Spencer with a water gun presumably full of piss. This is like Kids Bop Jigsaw. Actually, fuck that. This is like actual Jigsaw. The only character I could think to compare to Chuck is Susie, Jeremy's little sister from Phineas and Ferb. I couldn't put her on this list because she torments Candace, another child, but Chuck and Susie's manipulation work in similar ways. In the episode I Twins, Carly doesn't believe Spencer that Chuck is evil, just like how Jeremy doesn't believe Candace that Susie is evil. I personally enjoy the clever kid versus silly adult variation. Evil children makes this feel like a different dynamic entirely. One I don't enjoy at all. It's like that scene in Meet the Fockers that Nick at Night constantly played in a commercial where a cat flushes a dog down the toilet. It doesn't sit right in my soul, and I can't even sit here and intellectualize it. I can't explain it. It just makes my tummy hurt. It freaks me out. It scares me, bad vibes. And there's simply no resolution to Spencer versus Chuck as far as I'm aware of, because the Spencer abuse just continues with Chuck's little brother Chip. It's like a curse. I can make a tier list of all evil characters. I could make a separate trope video talking about evil children. But if there's one takeaway from this video, it's that entertainment and comedy are subjective. I'm trying to talk about how this trope works, but I can only truly talk about how this trope works for me. I love when characters feel like real people no matter how cartoony. I love when there's heart. I love when an unlikely duo face off and learn a lot from each other. That'll always make me happy to see. But maybe you like over-the-top, unresolved violence in fiction. I can't say I understand it, and quite frankly, it stresses me out, but who am I to judge? I really hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe if you did, and have a great day. I demand it. Bye!